One of my favorite childhood memories took place during Midwest thunderstorms. If any of you know what I'm talking about, then you're probably keenly aware of how terrifying these thunderstorms, these crashing electrical storms can be for a small child. Well, my parents, when I was very small, worked in evangelism. My father was a singing evangelist, and my mother, along with parenting three small boys, would play the organ and the piano for the meetings. And the three of us boys would travel from city to city to city, staying typically only about 6 weeks. And we would call a 10-foot by 50-foot mobile our home. And without the insulation that is found in your typical home, when one of these thunderstorms would hit, along with a crash and the clap of thunder, we boys would make a straight beeline for Mom and Dad's bed. Now, well, both of my brothers immediately would jump in beside my mother. And on the other hand, I would dive straight under the covers directly for my dad, immediately finding great safety and security wrapped up in his big hairy arms. All was well with the world when I was held tightly against his warm and beating heart. 5 of the most remarkable words that anybody has ever written, I think, come from the pen of the Apostle Paul. He's writing to the church at Rome, and he's talking about how suffering and is not altogether a bad thing. He says, because, this is Romans chapter 5, suffering can produce perseverance. Perseverance can produce character. Character can produce hope. And then he ends with these words, and hope does not disappoint. I mean, what does he mean by that? Because you and I live in a world where hope disappoints us every day. People have hopes, vital hopes, and often these hopes get crushed. And sometimes, some of you maybe have experienced this, sometimes hope has disappointed you so much that you've decided you're not going to hope anymore because it hurts too much, and your hopes just get crushed. In this old life, I think all of us would acknowledge that hope disappoints us all the time. So maybe it's time for us to discover another kind of hope. Maybe that's the thing. That's really the question. Is there another hope? Is there a different kind of hope? Well, the writers of Scripture say that there is. And this Christian hope has been kept alive in the Church of Jesus Christ for thousands of years. I hope you'll join us at the Woodside Community of Faith this Sabbath morning as I continue the series, getting through the tough stuff. And this week, with a specific look at unshakable hope. I'd like to invite you to just reserve some time in your life, in the lives of your family members, for spiritual growth, for coming and building and strengthening relationships with like-minded people, and for a little fellowship around some really good food just after the service. And on that note, I promised Jennifer that I would give a shout out for everyone to bring food for your own family and for maybe 5 to 6 to 7 other people. Prepare that favorite dish. Maybe bring a food that is unique to your culture or your background. I'm really looking forward to being with you, and many of my own family are going to be with me on Sabbath. I think about 20 of them, all of them here to celebrate my father's life at the memorial service at Carmichael later in the afternoon. Hope, it's one of the most powerful, evocative words in the English language. And Jesus says, this is a hope that will not disappoint.